We've all seen those history videos, right? They're packed with dates, names, events, and they're fine. They're informative, but are they unforgettable? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really deconstruct the creative blueprint for turning that dense, complex history into a cinematic epic. A story so compelling, it's literally designed to go viral.
I mean, that's the real challenge, isn't it? How do you take something as massive as 5,000 years of a civilization's history and make it not just something you watch, but something that's absolutely gripping? How do you create something that people feel they have to watch and then immediately share?
Okay, so every great project starts with the raw material. In this case, it's a solid, fact-based historical summary. It's got everything from ancient empires to modern politics. It's accurate, it's detailed. It's basically the before picture.
And here is the after. The goal isn't just to repackage some facts. The ambition is to create a true cinematic documentary, one with incredibly high audience retention, aiming for over 10 million views. So how on earth do you get from point A to point B? Well, it all starts by finding the one story that matters most.
Right. So the very first step, the most important one, is to boil down thousands of years of information into one single, powerful idea. You can't just list what happened. You need a story engine, a core theme that drives the entire thing and gives the audience a real reason to care. And this, right here, is the creative core. This one idea becomes the filter for everything else. It's no longer just a history of a place. It's the story of an identity that refuses to die. This simple, powerful theme, well, that's the engine that's going to power the entire film. And here is where it gets so smart. All those facts from the source material, they're now completely reframed. So the Greek conquest isn't just a date anymore, it's the first major test of survival. The Arab conquest isn't just a religious change, it's a deep, fundamental transformation of that core identity. And the Mongol destruction, that becomes a near extinction event. Every single point on this timeline now serves that central narrative, survival. Okay, so you've got your core story, but how do you make an audience actually feel that story across thousands of years? Well, you have to go beyond just talking about events. You have to bring the people to life. You've got to turn those cold, hard facts into living, breathing faces. The strategy here is a total shift in focus. It's about deciding that instead of prioritizing dates and policies, you're going to prioritize visualizing real, expressive human faces. The whole goal is to make the audience feel like they are looking right into the eyes of history itself. Let's just see this transformation in action, because it's pretty amazing. On the left, you've got your standard historical fact. It's important, sure, but it's also kind of dry. Now look at the right. That's the cinematic translation. All of a sudden, Cyrus isn't just a name in a book. He's a character. We're asked to imagine his presence, his wisdom. That creates an instant emotional connection. And this doesn't just work for famous leaders. Take a huge event like the 1979 Revolution. The creative direction here translates it into a purely human experience. Instead of focusing on the politics, the instruction is to capture the raw emotions in the crowd. The anger, the chaos, the hope, the fear. That's what makes history feel like it's happening right now. So you've got your core story and your emotional focus. The last piece of the puzzle is structure. To really create that cinematic feel and, just as important, to keep people watching, the story can't just wander around. It needs a very deliberate structure with a clear arc. In this case, it's a 10-act blueprint. The whole thing starts with a strong hook, asking that big question about survival. Then, it immediately sets up a rhythm. Do you see the pattern here? You get the rise of an empire, then its fall, a major transformation, then near total destruction. This creates a kind of roller coaster of creation and collapse that keeps you totally locked in. And the second half of the story builds on that exact same pattern. We see this powerful rebirth of identity, then the slow burn of foreign interference, all leading to the huge climax of the 1979 revolution. And, this is key, it ends with an unresolved future. That forces you, the viewer, to think, and it makes sure the story sticks with you long after it's over. So let's pull all these pieces together. What is this creative blueprint really designed to do? Why does this combo, a single story, a focus on human emotion, and a strict structure, why does it work so well? Well, it's all about engineering a very specific emotional journey for the viewer. See, the goal isn't just for you to learn some facts. It's to make you feel a specific set of emotions. First, a sense of shock and awe at this civilization's resilience. Then, a real emotional connection to the people whose faces you've seen. And finally, a deep, burning curiosity to understand what happens next.
And there's actually a name for this method: cinematic history. It's a choice. It's about deciding to treat history not as a pile of data, but as a source for these incredibly powerful, human-centric stories. It's about finding the epic that's already there, just waiting to be told.
And ultimately, that's the secret sauce, right? The objective completely shifts. It's no longer about just transferring information, it's about transferring emotion. You want the viewer to walk away not just knowing more, but actually feeling the immense weight, the tragedy, and the triumph of 5,000 years of human experience. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. In a world that is just drowning in content, is this highly structured, emotion-first approach the future of how we tell our most important and complex stories? Not just about history, but about everything.